comments from the public? Okay.
Excuse me, Ralph, just a moment. With the new year starting, it's February, looking ahead to Old Home Week, does the commission still want to consider an animal program? Again, we usually do it on the Sunday.
Yes,
of
I
Old Home
believe
Week.
so.
Because I'll start making inquiries as to what the programs
Well,
are.
I think
what
that'd be very
What the
productive.
costs are. So I just want to,
Ted does a wonderful job in terms of,
Yeah, it's a good
getting,
the presenters make the one do the wonderful job.
oh, the presenter, but you organize it, so,
Well,
and you do a
Should
great job.
should I proceed and then come back to the next meeting with what the
Okay,
cost would be?
Perfect.
Okay.
very much
thanks.
appreciated, thank you. Property commitments, update from members, I think we have a couple that are due. These are, from Tim's work, people volunteered to make comments on the property description, to update it. And I think there were a couple that are, Mark is, okay,
Mine's still outstanding.
Yeah, you two are the only.
I've been out on the property, but
okay.
still working on a
So,
couple of
all
things.
right.
I want-
Let's hope. Okay. Made some comments. I am in the process of updating it. One thing I'd like to do is to have forest management description, and I've asked Tim to provide that background information. Some of the Marine's comments I don't agree with. We could go through some of that.
Well, can we stop when you just mentioned, I just want to make sure I'm understanding. The forest management language you're looking for from Tim is a basic
Description.
of his approach to management.
Right, essentially, and some history of the.
What has been done. and-
Activities.
Yeah, okay.
The one I'm concerned about is, I think it's on page 4, the yellow. There's a lot of description here which, I mean, doesn't amount to anything. What I was attempting to do, and I mentioned this in one section when I looked, it's I did mention that, and improved the language for the water testing, and I thought that was sufficient. And you can see that in red, what was done there, which I thought was sufficient as opposed to the significant language that's included on page 4. So if anybody has a comment on that. So I will have an update next month. In addition, I'd like to get comments from everybody with respect to Maureen's position and all that. Okay? So if people are, this is a lot of work to go through this today, and I really don't want to go through all of the comments. I'd like to get a collection from people as to their opinion on what the additions are and what changes are necessary. There are maps that need to be included.
These are here, right?
And I
Yeah.
sent them,
What did you say?
oh, I sent them,
Yes.
the 3 maps.
Right. And I've got maps from Mike with respect to the chain of ponds. So there's some additional maps that I'd like to include, as well as people can, any issues with respect to changes and all that. So please forward those in an appropriate time so we can talk about it again next month.
Mr. Chairman, I would just like to add, for the sections that I added, as I mentioned in the last meeting, some of the information is meant to be productively educational for residents who are coming to the town or reading the master plan about water quality and what is tested. about the evolvement of cyanobacteria blooms and where they can go to find out if their water bodies are being impacted, about salt responsibly, to have folks be aware of the fact that we can reduce our amount of salt because it goes in the water and it stays in the water. As far as the area that I spoke about with the wildlife action plan, it was to describe these maps and how the Conservation Commission could use these maps to further involve residents in where their property lies in terms of high impact habitats. And then for the stream crossings modernization, this is going to be becoming a bigger item for the future as we have and are impacted by storms, by these big storm events, and our culverts not being able to handle it, not to mention the fact that our culverts that are in poor condition do not allow amphibians and migration upstream. So these items are the reason that I added them is for an education value to the public. And the second thing I'd like to say is that I renumbered all of the lands to correspond to the trail map that is published for the town. So Ted, these are all now numbered in accordance with the numbers that are in the trail document. That's why they're in a different order. And the chart that is in here, I added the Barclay lot, and I had some questions. Tim's not here to ask, but the things in red, I renumbered the properties to also coincide with the numbering in the master plan. So that was a recommendation that we all talked about at one of our past meetings, that we wanted to get that all together so they all matched each other. And then another item for the McNair easements, I numbered them 7, A, B, and C because there's different owners and there's different reasons for the parcels and where those parcels are on the easements. And so I further described that to be clear that the lots contain an easement that is not the whole lot. In other words, it's a portion of the acreage. And it's one easement that was developed in 1976 that has 6 parcels in it across 3 lots. So it's complicated, and I felt that that needed to be outlined in the description in the master plan for clarification.
Okay. Well, I asked for everybody to review the document, and I'll have an update as well. So you will see some changes as a result of additions, maps, and things of that nature.
When was the last time we redid the master plan?
2010.
2000. So it's been 14 years?
Mhm.
14. And I know it's not a law, or maybe it is a law, but what, were you supposed to do it every 10, or
Yes.
Yeah.
is it every 10? I just know we got, and is there, I know, you know, Conway paid like 100,000 or something like that last year.
I did ask the selectmen if they had 80 for us.
Yeah, yeah. I just, there must be some, so the planning board's supposed to regulate that, correct?
Yes, yeah.
Sorry. Is there some sort of like, I don't wanna say like a cut and paste, but like a standard way that we're supposed to write, or it's just, you can do whatever you want?
Just what we
or-
want.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay. I'm just curious,
It's sort of the argument would be it's the basis of our land use regulations.
Okay.
Here's what the town wants, and here's how, then here's how we're going to approach that in the regulatory.
yeah, I just, you know, when you're going over this stuff, you wrote this, I guess, 14 years ago, or.
I made a contribution in 2010, and also what's in red is the modifications.
Right, but I mean, originally, so in 2010, you did.
I did some of it. I did an update of the prior
Okay.
edition.
I just
which was
want to know if there's
2002, I
a
think.
standard way to do this, or
I don't know, way back, we had hired someone
Yeah.
We had a charrette in my yard, so.
Okay.
A lot of work went into this.
Yeah.
On the Hurricane Point land description, it would be, I think it's A. Crosby Kennett Jr. as well. And E. Cummings would be small e Cummings. That was, he wrote it in a tree house, not a free house.
I haven't read it.
Huh?
I haven't read it.
You got time.
Did you ever read The Enormous Room?
No?
It's not easy.
And there is one other correction for the line and lot. It's not 2 lots, it's 1 33-acre lot. There is no tax card for lot 15, it doesn't even exist. And actually, that used to reference a piece that is now part of the East Davis Pond property, that 12.1 acres that the town hopefully will agree to transfer to the Conservation Commission. So it's not 2 lots separated by the Boston and Maine Railroad track. It's map 221, lot 10, and that is it. So that will have to be adjusted as well.
Okay. All right, moving on, digitizing, let's see. We had estimates that were provided, and I believe we have our party that was doing it, she's retired, right?
She resigned.
Resigned. So, the issue is, she was involved in giving estimates, and I think maybe we should place a call and get further details on the pricing and everything else. I believe it was UPS that provided the best estimate. So, if we have the 2 remaining corrections or adjustments to the property descriptions, we'll modify those 2, and then next month deal with the estimate and the process for digitizing the town reports. Conservation easement deed issues, this was the template. And I made an effort to review the and with no objection, I'm gonna provide you with a copy of it.
I also put together questions, I just didn't make the Thursday deadline. Do you want me to share them or hold on to them?
Well, we can discuss it at this point,
Okay.
unless they're voluminous.
They're a little different from the way you put yours together.
All right.
A little bit more global in nature as opposed to
Well,
specific.
What I was
areas.
attempting to do was to go to the particular text and comment on issues that were brought up as a result of the template. So there's a series of issues, some of which the template was put together in, looks like a cut and paste fashion. And some of the references are difficult to follow because they refer to a section that doesn't exist.
Yeah.
Quite a bit of it is that. And there are sections that are confusing because they indicate that this is the principle, but then there is a section that says, well, if you don't want to do that, here is the alternative, which is, and it makes for the fact, I'll give you an illustration, mining, for example, extraction. It says it's not permitted, but then the next section below says, here's the remediation for the mining. So it's like, okay, I'll accept the fact that that's not permitted, but why have the exception? there's a series of things like exceptions that take place in the narrative that aren't supported by the
Sure.
principle to begin with. So there's a whole series of those kinds of issues in the template. There's also some technical issues with respect to what is permissible or what we think is appropriate for conservation land versus what's in the document. And it's a lot of different items. And there's one at the end, which is the language, let's do the last paragraph.
13?
On page 33, and you have the, we don't have any ability to exercise physical or management control of any landowner activities. So I read that and I go like, everything before that is meaningless. So it's that kind of thing. So there's considerable difficulty in using the template. The productive effort of it is that it goes through a series of things in terms of what is permissible under the easement. And I think that's the productive area that we want to focus on in terms of the, for some reason I can't find it. I gave you the thing I had, but,
Do you need-
let me borrow it. Oh, it's, you can share it. Allowance for commercial activities is one thing. You have the right to construct, place, introduce, use, maintain, repair, replace, enlarge, relocate, or improve, or rebuild certain structures. So,
Yeah, I just
so
wanted,
there are no structures on there that I'm aware of.
I wanted to go back to the conversation we had last month, and I'm wondering that the template is in fact a template, and that there's multiple provisions in here that would not apply to the property. And when I supplied it with you, it was really to try to show what the appraiser had used to kind of inform his appraisal of the conservation value. It was never my intention to say that we are saying that these are things that we want to retain.
Well, you gave the template, so my issue was, it was a matter of giving us information that perhaps you wanted it, or perhaps you didn't, or whatever, but I'm going down the garden path of the template.
Sure.
And that is the problem, in the fact that the template has got too many things in it that really don't apply.
Can I jump
Sure,
in
go
here
ahead.
just for a minute? I understand what both of you are saying, and is there any way we can cut to the middle somewhere? Is there a way that you can whittle away
Yes, I think I was about to.
terms that you
Yeah.
know that you don't want considered,
100%.
so that we don't spin our wheels in the mud over
Yeah.
here,
Yeah.
trying to figure out how we want that language to be?
100%, I'm kind of coming to that realization as we're sitting here talking,
I mean,
Sure.
I understand full well what you did. You gave us your garden variety off-the-shelf template
Yeah,
that you would start with as a building block,
yeah,
but there's some building blocks on there that we're never gonna use.
100%,
But I'd say what you've done though is very helpful.
yeah.
Right.
It's not wasted effort.
No, absolutely not, but I do think we could definitely take what you're suggesting and take that template and craft a more, an easement that we would envision being the structure and the reserved rights and the restrictions, that then we can have maybe a more productive, informed conversation.
I think the time would be better spent on this side in any event, and we don't wanna, too much back and forth is never a good
Yep.
thing, and confusion leads to animosity that we don't need. And I don't think anybody's done anything, you're trying to be helpful and you give us a garden variety, and there's a lot of stuff in there that everybody acknowledges is not gonna apply, so
Yeah.
if we can somehow, I don't wanna be the one, I don't think it applies, so let me get rid,
Yeah.
you gotta tell,
Sure, no, yeah, that's fair, and I was, my efforts to kind of, I was trying to reverse the roles of.
right,
of like-
and make it go faster, but slowing it down at the
I
same
think,
time.
yeah, I 100% agree. Yeah, so I can easily, yeah, we can work on that and provide you with a refined version.
Okay.
Take in all the comments you have kind of compiled.
Yeah.
account. So I know what you're thinking as we start to kind of create that.
Because I think the closer we get to something that's actual, the conversation here can be more meaningful.
Right.
I agree with
That makes sense.
Could I follow on with that?
Sure.
Because I think Mike's going down the right path, I really agree with that. I put together some thoughts that might help us lead us to this, which is probably where you are. I hope it's close. First of all, when we talked about the easement last meeting, I'm sorry, didn't mean to exclude you guys. We talked about maybe having a separate work session, and I was wondering if the Conservation Commission might consider hiring Tim Nolan as a consultant for us to help us understand the pieces. It's a pretty complex topic, and so I just put out there that might be something to consider to help us in the understanding to go through rights and restrictions. And maybe there's 2 or 3 work sessions to cover the many limitations, use limitations. I think the baseline documentation at some point is gonna be pretty important for us to understand and see what's actually on the what is the property, what it's about. I wanted to ask Upper Saco Valley if they have experience with other fee-owned lands where a municipality holds the easement. There are some concerns that I have that or maybe there's challenges that we don't know about in this relationship that we could learn from if there are other experiences, even if it's not USVLT, maybe there's other land trusts that have some experience, just things that we should avoid or include. I would want to have an idea of what Upper Saco is anticipating for commercial and non-commercial agricultural uses, how distinguished de minimis, that was very confusing in the document, and what are you all thinking about that? There's going to be a forest management plan. That's a whole other plan that we're going to have to be, I think, accepting. I'm not sure, but the conservation easement holder will have to accept that. And so we need a little more education amongst ourselves in what best management practices we accept as the forest management plan, because we don't all agree to all the details of that. So we could use Tim to help us understand those things. It would be good to know what you consider low impact in recreation before we go through the list. It'd be good to know what you consider in this. The whole area about rent and leasing of any conservation area poses a whole other need for understanding, because you may say, we're not interested in doing any of that, or that's not even going to be in the easement, or gee, what do we need to know about that for the future? What are examples of where that might happen, because I'm just not knowledgeable enough. It would be good to know how you anticipate or what you anticipate in terms of structures, paved roads, fencing and housing animals, solar array. There are none present now so far as we know, but it'd be good to know, as you were just saying, what you're anticipating so that we can comment to it. And then how will the town approach monitoring this large property, and just talking about our anticipated costs. It is a huge property, and it will take quite a bit of effort to monitor that. And do we monitor, and with everything that's in the easement, the more complex or the more restrictions and rights in it, the more that has to be monitored. So I throw those questions out there as sort of the starting point versus the document. I just took it after going through Ralph's list. It just seemed to me that there were some bigger things that maybe the Conservation Commission could get from Upper Saco Valley to help us, as well as maybe we asked Tim or a good land, someone who understands easements to help us go through the details.
That's all really good feedback, and yeah, I think that's all a great path forward, and I think we're here to help educate. Well, we want this to be a partnership, so if there are technical questions, we want to be able to bring resources to the table and help you all feel comfortable that you're going to have the understanding and capability to kind of manage and monitor and work with us. But I do think a lot of the things that we're in but once we start to whittle down the template, a lot of the, maybe the concerning aspects, I think will be removed, in a lot of fashion.
Yeah.
And I think we'll see a much simpler, and I apologize for creating kind of confusion or some, angst in providing that kind of off-the-shelf, template. Yeah, all good feedback. I appreciate you all going through it and providing some thoughts, to initially help us kind of think about.
Okay, the next step then is what?
Well, we'll work on this. I think we can probably create, in pretty short order, between now and the next meeting, a refined easement template, that is an actual template of what we're hoping to see in the easement, that for y'all to react to. And I think, I'm hopeful that, I feel some confidence that what we share with you will feel pretty good to y'all. But certainly we'll have to have a conversation about what we present. I think that, my understanding is that after the last, town meeting, select board meeting, it was determined that the Conservation Commission is responsible for hosting this
Yes.
special town meeting to talk about spending funds.
It's a hearing, it's just
Or
a
hearing,
public,
sorry,
public hearing.
Public hearing.
It's on the agenda. at the
Okay,
moment.
so yeah, I'll stop there. I'll just say that we can work on this and get you a more refined copy.
Well, if the conservation agrees, I'm just throwing out my thoughts.
Okay.
Well, is there, I don't wanna sound pushy, but just looking at the calendar, is there any way, could we pick a date, like say, the 22nd of this month? Do you think you could have something to Kate so that she could have it out to us?
Yeah.
That gives us a little more than a week
Absolutely.
to look at it before our next meeting. Instead of us waiting until the next meeting to get it,
Yes.
that would give us a chance to have it a week before, and then we could have maybe some more meaningful discussion
Okay.
about it.
Yeah, that's an achievable deadline, and we'll strive to be earlier.
Okay, good.
And your goals on the property are active and passive forest management?
The goals initially would be to let the land heal. It's been cut very hard.
Yeah.
But we would work with, that's to be determined at some level what the management looks like. Is be working probably Tim, or another forester to come up with a forest management plan. We're intending to have 200-foot buffers around all the wetlands. There will be no commercial activity or harvesting. But within areas where there's, outside of that, there's a potential for long-term, some forest management to occur.
And how about motorized vehicles?
We've been trying to mull that over. Generally speaking, we do not permit wheeled motorized vehicles on our land, but we haven't had a property that has had historic use of motorized vehicles. And we're still trying to figure out what that looks like, because we know that there's community use on the forest road that goes up between, kind of bisects the property.
Yeah.
And we feel like there needs to be more conversation with the Conservation Commission, with the community, about what the use is and what the challenges are with managing use like that, and kind of figure that out. We haven't come to a firm decision, I'd say, as an organization about how to manage that, other than recognizing that some of the areas where their ATV travel is currently occurring is damaging. It would not be sustainable long-term. But we also want to be cognizant of the fact that we're buying land that's seen historic use in a way that maybe we haven't seen in other places. We can look to a neighboring land trust, Greater Level Land Trust, who's worked with an ATV club on land they acquired that actually had like designated ATV trails. This property is a bit different. Technically, I think the use has been a trespass. I don't think the pros have been actively permitting use of ATVs, and by law, you have to actually get landowner permission before you operate a motorized ATV on somebody's private property. But it's all kind of part of the process as we're kind of thinking about management, but we haven't come up with a firm stance, I'd say. Do you all have,
In the past, we've struggled with taking land that, or acquiring land that the donor perhaps would restrict hunting or.
Oh yeah, we don't have any intention to do that,
So,
yeah.
and I think there's quite a bit of motorized vehicle use on this, and it'd be an easier sell if.
Yeah. The unofficial perspective from what I've been thinking about has been that the primary dirt road that bisects the property could be an appropriate spot if somebody wanted to utilize an ATV to continue access, but beyond that kind of corridor, I think would be inappropriate from an impact standpoint. But that's just me talking, there needs to be more conversation, so.
What about snowmobiles?
That's generally been acceptable, considering the corridor that's right on the
Yeah.
railroads too, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. The impact as far, just isn't there, as it is with wheeled ATV.
All right, the annual report, any comments?
Could you write the one for the planning board too, please?
So the annual report, Maureen had sent an email that she wanted something added to it.
I did.
She did, on January 18th at 3:44 PM.
The annual report?
I don't recall. All right, so what
Was
did
it
you?
on that, or?
For the annual report?
No, sorry, draft on the easement, sorry about that.
Thank you.
Okay.
No,
Sorry.
I didn't think I
All right.
did, but there were just,
Nope, sorry,
there was,
just
I
wait.
just had a few
You sent me a lot of
wording.
emails, so.
Right, I know. I just had a few wording things, but it's,
Yeah, that's on that one, sorry. That's
but-
everything, so,
the only thing I thought, that I would like to just suggest is that in the, you've got the new version of the, master plan. The new version will reflect the history made over the 14-year time period. I would like to say and update goals and objectives for the future. So it would just, because that's part of what I feel, a master plan is also about the future. It's about what the town is moving towards or would want to look towards.
Okay,
so where do you?
where do you want to put that?
Right at the end of the second sentence of the third to the last paragraph, where it says the conservation master plan is in the process of being updated.
Yep, what
The
do you want to
last-
say in the last sentence?
Yep. The new version will reflect the history made over the 14-year time period and update goals and objectives for the future.
Six lines down on the first paragraph, there is an extra word. Town will have, be granted, will have or be granted. We don't need the word.
Oh, we're on the annual report.
The annual
That's
report.
something different.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, you're doing what I did.
All right,
You're going the other way.
doing it easy. All right, go ahead. I'm ahead of this,
Um,
okay. All
One,
right.
two, three, four. On, Kate, on the fifth paragraph down, the second sentence, the property inspections done in 2023 had a focus on indicating the current condition of the properties. That's the word there.
I think you sent that to me in a Word document, but if you didn't, I'll talk to you about it.
Okay.
And then the last sentence on this page, I just thought we should mention that the map 116 lot number 23 is a 12.1 acre property. That's the new East Davis Pond property.
Okay.
Okay. Third paragraph, the chain of ponds easement will represent the most significant event forever in the history of the MCC. No, I'm just saying that.
Yeah, whatever.
I'll do
Ever,
Ever?
Just
take
ever, just
forward?
take the four out.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
forever.
See, that was quite a
Forever.
quite a statement.
Ralph, I'll make some changes to it, and then I'll give it to Linda.
Okay,
Okay,
all right.
Okay, cool.
so you don't have to worry
That's
about
not,
that.
that's not too bad considering.
No,
uh,
no, it was good.
And Ted, your live animal presentation's in here for Old Home Week.
I make a motion that we submit this with the changes talked about.
Okay.
Second?
Yes. Okay,
All in favor?
yes.
Right.
All right. Next item on the agenda. Oh, the public hearing. That's where I got into the
Yeah, the
template.
document.
Oh, the
document.
handout.
Yeah.
I guess the process for a public hearing, what is the statutory notice
How
provision?
many,
10 clear days.
10 days?
10 clear days before the hearing,
All right.
calendar days.
So I think the timing would be good if we could do it sooner than later. I think it's, would be helpful to have the meeting take place before the town annual meeting, for sure. So we could report that to the public.
We can just do it at our next meeting, March 7th.
March 7th? Okay.
This town meeting's the 16th.
Okay,
March 7th.
March 7th, all right. Okay, do we want to do a PowerPoint presentation or anything of that nature? Or just use the handout?
I think we should have a map.
Yeah, just
Yeah.
a paper
Map?
Paper map?
can,
We need the easement with the easement language done too.
Well, we're supposed to get a copy of that.
no,
That's gonna take some time.
the way, I mean, I could be off my rocker here, but what we're talking about is having this, to have a public hearing, get input that nobody's gonna show up, there won't be any, never is. But then we have discussion amongst the board, and that's where we formalize this board's position on doing this. The money's not gonna change hands for maybe a couple of years from now, or a year plus, we just skipped ahead to 24, but, so the end of this year or maybe mid,
Early next year. Yeah.
but at the end of that public hearing, it's just, the position is established, either we're gonna go forward at some point in the future and transfer money to them, or we're not. It's simple as that, but nothing, I don't think the easement doesn't have to be finalized, and it's whether or not the core of the project, we all understand what it is, are we in favor of it or aren't we?
I think it's Ralph's document. I mean, he put together a good position paper,
And Mike made
to
some
describe
modifications. as
what the
well.
project is.
Yeah.
And so we're asking the town to approve us moving forward with that and committing our
Right, well,
funds.
you're soliciting public opinion that
Right.
you're likely not gonna get any public. Very rarely do they show up.
I think people will show up. We've been hearing from a lot of town folk that are
Oh.
excited about this.
Well, then hopefully it's positive.
Positive.
I think it will be.
Yeah, I think it will be. Yes.
Yeah.
Because if we have to split the baby, there's no way to do it.
No, I don't think so. I think people will be.
Okay, good.
Put them to the book.
Well, that's great.
That's
Yeah, we're
really
planning on-
Caesar. That's
So
not me.
we'll be at our regular meeting on the 7th.
So
Okay,
4:30,
Perfect.
March 7th, we
Mhm.
can convey that.
We
to
should
folks.
set the time at, do it first
Opening-
thing or do
Opening
it,
of the meeting,
do
so
it,
we get
So put
people
on the
that.
agenda.
establish the time at, well, let's just set it at 4:30. It's
Four-
not gonna be at 4:30, it'll be a few minutes after, but
Yeah, we'll open the meeting.
everybody that shows up for 4:30 will be here when it starts.
Yeah, that'd be great. We appreciate
Yeah.
that.
I mean, we could have a map on foam board and so that
That
the
would be
parcels,
great
that would
to
help
have.
too.
Yeah, we actually have a
Yeah.
map we can bring, yeah.
That'd be
It's a
great.
large format, oh, not quite as big as that, but.
Okay, all right, so.
Right.
That would be good visual for everybody in the room, but also for the people in TV land.
Yeah.
Yeah,
'Cause
absolutely.
there are one or two people that religiously watch this
Yeah.
meeting.
Yeah. It's great that you all record your meetings, it's awesome. Cool, well, yeah, we're happy to do that, we're happy to support however we can, and we'll get you that easement, refined draft easement by the 22nd, and
Okay,
Ralph, will monies be explained that night at the public hearing?
yes.
Yeah, that's what we're.
That's basically
the
it.
goal.
Is-
That's all it is approval of whether or not we wanna do it.
Who's
I mean,
contributing what, or who's paying?
Well,
No,
it's
no, no,
just
it's
about
just-
whether we're contributing.
Committee.
What we're gonna commit.
It's the 213 and where it's coming from. It's the town land use change
Change
tax account.
And that's the document that Maureen has changed on.
Well, I just had a few little spelling or little word edits.
You wanted to add a sentence, USBLT is gifting the town the balance of the value of the conservation easement.
Well, I did, and Ralph turned it down, so.
So that's out. So you know that. I just had an
Um,
email and it's
okay.
hanging out there and.
But there's just a couple little wording
There's only,
things.
the only one I've found is it's 6 lines down on the first paragraph. Town will have the So either change have
Town will be granted a conservation
Yeah,
easement.
be granted.
And then you can take the X out of towns in the next line, the S. And in the start of that sentence says upon simultaneous, I don't think you need the upon, you can just say simultaneous with the purchase of the property by USBLT,
Okay.
take the upon out.
Any other?
The first sentence of the third paragraph, I just thought we could end it at and related expenses, period, as part of the USBLT effort, or as part of the effort USBLT has requested. So it just makes it a little cleaner.
I think you sent this to me in Word too, so I can fix it.
All right, so after expenses, you want to delete?
She's-
Just put a parrot, I just
she's
was
just
putting a
putting the
period there.
Period there and starting the second
And
sentence a
sentence
little
just
bit
saying,
differently.
as part
Okay.
of that effort, USVLT has requested that 213,000 be allocated.
All
And then a
right.
little further down, there's a sentence, the payment represents the town's investment in the project, and in return for this investment, USVLT will grant a conservation easement to the town of Madison.
Which will be.
Yeah, there was something
Which will
wrong,
be-
yeah.
which will be
There was something
applied
wrong
to-
there,
For
right.
the purchase price, yeah, that
Right.
makes sense, yeah. You
And
put
then
that-
in the last paragraph where there's the town will pay / release, is it pay / release or pay and release the requested? There's just nothing there.
Sounds like somebody was using talk to text.
I don't know what you meant there, Ralph, did you, like,
The town will pay and release
Release
the
the requested fund, I think.
just
that's-
release the
yeah, I
requested,
think that
not
sounds
pay.
better.
Yeah, okay,
I think I've got
Thank
it in
you.
Word, so I'll fix it for you.
thank you, great.
Okay, good.
All
All right. Make a motion, we,
Oh, I just have one I haven't heard anybody say. In the second line down,
Hold on.
there's an S on halves that doesn't need to be there.
Yeah, there you go. So that'll be, can we put that on the website, on the conservation website in anticipation of the hearing, so
I
that
don't
people
have
will
a-
see it?
I don't have a website for you.
We have a page on the
Yeah,
town.
on the town's.
What do you want me to put on there?
Oh,
I can
a link
take.
to the PDF
Yep.
or something?
I'll
Okay.
work with you on Monday. You get
Thank
this,
you.
you get this cleaned up and I can
Thank you.
get it on there.
And we can announce the hearing, the
Yeah,
public hearing.
we should
Okay.
do that,
Yeah,
too.
thank you.
Okay, would you let me know when you give the formal notice to the public about the hearing?
Yeah, I'll be posting it as soon as I can.
Thank you.
Can I just remind you, along with your report, your conservation report, that the Green Mountain information about the water testing also goes into the town report? The page that we get from Green Mountain that thanks us for our contribution and talks about what the actual expense was and the monitoring that they did. We always put that in the town report as well as our conservation updated letter.
okay.
So they can see what they're getting for their contributions.
All right, so this is in the annual report, you want to send?
No. They,
On an attachment.
Green Mountain Conservation produces a report to the town of Madison
Right.
stating all the work that they've done throughout the year.
Okay.
And there's a bunch of statistical information, et cetera. It's separate and distinct from what you've done.
Right.
Right.
But
It's in addition.
it goes in as a kind of an addenda in the
Okay.
town report.
Oh,
Your report will go first and theirs is right behind it.
Right.
oh, okay.
Right.
Fine.
And will they provide that?
And that, it's unsolicited typically. Once they
should
get
already be in.
their annual data together, it's usually received.
It would have been received last year after we paid
Right.
we got an invoice and then we paid the invoice, so it's that documentation.
Okay,
If you need help with it, reach out. I
I'm
can
sure
get
they
it from
could.
Green Mountain.
I think it's in here.
Email
It probably
to
is,
you.
I'm sure it is. But you have it already.
it may already be in the electronic folder of stuff going in the annual report, because that typically gets populated throughout the year when stuff shows up. Check that out Monday.
Thank you.
Okay. Mike, selectmen's
Well,
report?
the only thing we have is that the warrant article is set for the East Davis Pond property, and that the word from the town attorney, we had a very short meeting because it was during election night, that the town attorney backed the public hearing back to the commissions for their decision.
Right.
You were there for that meeting, and
Right.
and I'm glad it's been set.
Okay, excellent. Mark?
Can I ask about the 5K to be added to the capital?
I
To
want
be
to
a-
bring that up, actually, if I may.
Sure.
The last meeting, Marcia and Noreen both kind of cornered me on that, and it got a little heated. And I was told that the money was not, the $5,000, they didn't get it last year, and that's untrue, because it is in the annual report, you did get the $5,000
Yeah,
last
yeah,
year.
I did.
You had told me that we did, I didn't.
I
Oh,
don't.
yes, you did, you stood right there and told me that. But anyway, we're gonna move on.
Wasn't it?
So, we did get the money, and I just wanna make that clear, because I didn't appreciate what happened at the end of that meeting.
I'm sorry, it wasn't my recollection,
Okay.
Kate, sorry.
I'm
I
just
think what
stating.
I was referring to was the word, we were talking about the wording for the warrant article that we were possibly going to be changing so that it could be
But we
more
had talked about
generalized.
that it wasn't changing, and I had read what the attorney had said,
So-
nothing.
So my question at this point for Mike is there a warrant article this year
Yes,
to ask for the
5,000
5,000?
and the 10,000
Yes.
both, yes.
Okay,
It's
okay,
there.
thank you.
Okay, Mark?
The planning board meets on the first Wednesday, which is next week.
Oh, okay. All right, that makes that easy.
Escape it, right?
Legislative update and other things in administration.
I just put those in there because
Okay, the account balances are, you all can read that.
and we had a change, because I just got an email today from Kathy Moore, and the capital reserve account had just a little bit more of interest in it, so I just got that. It's not much.
Okay, with that, make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second that motion.
You got it.
Okay.
All fair?
Yes?
Opposed?